Hey, Carolee.
Now, I would have sworn that you were Matt, but your name says Sophia, so now I'm not sure.
I'm just trying to get everybody in the meeting before I switch over my role here.
I see.
We are very frugal in our sharing of software. Don't tell Zoom.
Oh, well, I get you.
Well, how was the polar vortex?
Fun.
We're here.
We are. Anybody have any damage?
I had a big limb down that crashed into my neighbor's yard, but that's about it. We had water the whole time, which I was thrilled with, but not so much power.
Good.
Yeah.
I had a pipe leak in my exterior laundry room, Carolee, you know where that is at the back of my carport. But at least it was exterior and, you know, it was flooding into the concrete and not into my house.
Okay.
So and it's been fixed already. So
Good.
I have a great handyman that saves my life on a regular basis. So
You are
Good.
fortunate.
yeah, because we did have to cut my water at the main because there's no shut off in that room, which we're also going to fix now. So
Oh, that's good.
I was shocked to hear on the news this morning, you're talking about like 200 housing multifamily complexes in Austin still were without water.
Oh my gosh.
They had it so bad.
I did not realize that in commercial, like multifamily developments, that there's not an individual shut off to each unit.
wow.
So like one unit has a break, every unit loses water,
Right.
which astounds me. And I'm not an architect or an engineer, but
Oh, that's about expense. That's not about being an architect or an engineer. That's about developers.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's got to be an expense issue.
I mean,
And
if
it's
I could
also-
shut off the little valve to my toilets, it's like, why couldn't we shut off all the other little valves that run through an apartment complex, you know?
Well, I would think that they may be looking at it differently from a planning standpoint, regulation standpoint,
Yeah,
because that's what it'll take.
yeah.
I got to use my chainsaw.
Oh,
I ran out of wood, and where it's the new whatever, the Hamilton Center, but the old Williams Elementary School had a limb down, and I'm like, So I urban foraged for wood because I had no electricity for a while. So
Wow.
no one was hurt in the process, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Nat for the city and Britain, and I don't know, is Sophia on tonight or not? She's taking the night off.
no, she'll be joining us this evening.
Okay, well, y'all just did it. I mean, and I'm going to say this for the public too. I mean, the city staff just did an amazing job with this, and I know that y'all were working as well, I'm sure somewhere last week. So thank you all for all you do to keep us safe and as warm as possible, because I know that y'all are working double duty. So
That's why we're here. I think I was really kind of shocked to hear. I didn't think about it. I wasn't as involved. I was not involved really in the city response, but even having to put up some of the electric line workers that don't live in Georgetown in hotels so that they could go and get a few hours of rest and then come back. So we were booking hotels, not we, but other city staff were booking hotels and meals for the electric workers so they could work around the clock.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Catherine needs to get on Nat.
got it. Yep. And then like our water measuring tool, our software, are connected so that we can monitor water usage electronically. And some of those systems went down. So some of our crews are having to go out to meters and read them by hand too, which was a lot of work.
Oh,
Yeah, I listened to city council on Tuesday, and for any of you who are interested in that, there's a very nice update of everything that occurred, and it is shocking to see the amount of things that our city staff were doing. So, and impressive. So, hey, Catherine, how are you?
I'm good. I had a call today with somebody in the East Coast and they said, we keep hearing all this stuff about Texas. Is it really true? I said, yes, it's all true. So what a mess.
Yeah. Thank goodness now it's 80. So, well, today it wasn't, but yesterday it was.
Yesterday it was 80. Yeah, incredible. Only in Texas can it be 3 on one day and 7 days later be 80.
And now we're back to 50.
I know, but I don't care. It's so much better than 3. And
It's true.
yeah, and I have water and electricity and all those other things. So
Are absolutely right.
Are we missing anyone tonight? I can't.
I don't see Nat. Art.
I bet he'll join us in a minute. Give him a couple minutes. And I know Faustine's joining us. I don't know. Give her a couple minutes. There's Art. Hey, Art. Faustine, I think you're here with us, right?
Yes, sorry. We're having some issues over here.
Okay,
Got me
thank you.
for someone.
Okay. Oh, there you are. There you are. Hey, Faustine. Hey, Faustina. Okay, so we do have a quorum, and then we have Pam, one of our alternates, on the phone as well this evening. Don't see Robert yet, but he may join us. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening. The time is 6:02 p.m., and I would like to welcome everyone to our meeting of the City of Georgetown Historic and Architectural Review Commission. The Historic and Architectural Review Commission, appointed by the mayor and city council, is responsible for hearing and taking final action on applications for certificates of appropriateness based upon the city council adopted downtown and old town design guidelines and the Unified Development Code. This virtual meeting format is different from the regular meetings at City Hall, but we will still follow a similar meeting format. We will consider the cases scheduled for this meeting individually as follows. Staff will make a presentation of the case, and then I will give the commissioners an opportunity to ask questions to staff. After the staff presentation, the applicant or their representative will have up to 10 minutes to present or provide comments on their project if they choose, followed by questions from the commissioners. Once staff and the applicant have addressed questions from the commissioners, we will open the meeting for the public hearing. If you would like to provide comments on an agenda item, please wait until I open the public hearing. When I open the public hearing, I will ask if anyone would like to speak, and if you would please unmute yourself and state your name. Once we have the name of everyone who'd like to speak, I will call the names in order, and when your name is called, you will have up to 3 minutes. A speaker may allot their time to another speaker for a maximum of 6 minutes. If you wish to allot your time to another speaker, please indicate so when I open the public hearing. Please remember that all comments and questions must be addressed to the commission, and please be patient while we organize the speakers during the public hearing portion. You also have the opportunity to provide comments through the Q&A section of the live meeting located on the right-hand side of your screen. Please provide your full name and address for the record, and your comment will be read by staff. After everyone who has asked to speak has spoken, I will close the public hearing and provide a few minutes of rebuttal time to the applicant if they so choose. Following this set of questions, I will ask the commissioners for a motion and a second, followed by deliberation and any additional questions to staff or the applicant. Then I will call for a vote on the motion. If the applicant or a member of the public has questions or concerns following a vote on an agenda item, please communicate those to the recording secretary outside of this meeting so that staff can follow up with you. You can provide your contact information through the Q&A section and request follow-up. You can call the planning department at 512-930-3575, or you can email historic@georgetown.org. I would like to remind everyone to please state your name before you make any comments. That includes staff, commissioners, applicants, and members of the public who speak during the public comment portion of the meeting. If you're a member of the public, please also provide your address. The first agenda item is, we have item D, which is a public hearing and possible action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for rooftop HVAC, mechanical or communication equipment that results in modifications to the building facade at the property located at 410 East University, bearing the legal description Block 2 of the Hughes Addition. Britton.
Good evening, commissioners. Britton Bostick, Downtown and Historic Planner. So if this seems a little bit familiar, that's because you've seen it before. This is for the First United Methodist Church on University Avenue. Last year, y'all approved some modifications to the building facade, not a part that's very easily seen from the street, but a part of the building that is up above a rooftop. This is above the roof of the addition that was constructed before 1940. And they had asked for a louver for their new air conditioning system. Essentially, they're looking to improve the air conditioning for the main sanctuary building, which if you've ever been in that church sanctuary, you know is a really large, very tall space. So they're looking to make some much needed upgrades to that. And y'all had approved a new louver to be installed in the stone wall. And then the architect has come back. Here we are just kind of across the street from the Hammerlin Center. The architect has come back with some revisions to the project. So they're changing what they're asking for just a little bit. And that's the reason it's coming back to y'all for another decision. So same project, same building, but a little bit different design. So the First United Methodist Church building is a high priority structure. It's pretty close to the downtown overlay, but still in Old Town. And this is a church building that has been there since the 1800s. We first start seeing it on the 1900 Sanborn map. And it took a little while before it started to get the additions that we know today. So that wasn't until the 1930s that the additions started to be constructed. And then that property has developed over time. So here in 1964, we can see what I think was a dirt parking lot at the time. And then in 1974, they had paved it. You still see a couple of smaller structures on that church property. And then today they have a much larger building addition to it. So they're asking, instead of the louver, which was going to be horizontally oriented, it was going to be really difficult to see from the street. There's really only one viewpoint that you might even be able to see it. But with the changes that they're proposing for this air conditioning system that they need to install, it's typical to install the condensing units. If you're, think about your house, you've got a condensing unit probably on the ground in your yard, maybe in your backyard. Some people it's closer to the front. On commercial buildings with flat roofs, we tend to put those condensing units on the flat roof. And a lot of times that's what they're constructed for. So they had a louver to allow air in and out of the attic space to help with the way they designed the system. And instead, they're now asking for a door. So the louver will not be needed. They've made some cost adjustments to the system. And so here, instead of that louver, they're asking to do a door. They'll have a ladder going up to it. They're also going to be moving some of those air conditioning units further back on the roof. And so the architect has provided some sightline drawings that show what the view would be. Basically, how easy would it be to be able to see this change to the building, especially because it's over the roof of some additions. And you're basically maybe just see the very tippy top of it. And that's what you're seeing with these dashed lines and arrows here, the view that people might have. And for the most part, the building itself is going to screen the view of what's going on up top, but you probably will be able to see that door just a little bit. So they want to paint it to match the limestone color, so kind of a buff or a cream color, so that it's minimally visible. And so here, commissioners, I have a photo from East University looking toward the east. You can see the sun rising, and that triangular bit on the building, that's a gable end. You would be able to see probably just kind of the tip top of the door up there in that gable once the installation. So not substantially different from what y'all had previously approved, but enough of a change that staff is bringing this back to you for your consideration. And so when staff reviewed the application, even with the changes, we found that it mostly complied with the applicable criteria for approval. Two of the criteria didn't apply. It's not in addition to the building, no signage is involved. Where we said it partially complies is that we do have Secretary of the Interior standards that talk about kind of leaving facades intact. In this case, it's for some mechanical changes. And so that's why we said partially complies. There are ways that it is complying with the Secretary of the Interior standards and some ways that they kind of guide against that. I will say though, on that point of approval criteria, this is the least invasive way to make an adjustment to allow them to upgrade their air conditioning system. And it's a lot less noticeable than it would be on the three kind of easier to view street facing facades. So in that case, it's minimized. 4 signs were posted on the property and staff has not received any comments. And so staff is recommending approval of the request because this is very similar to what was previously approved and because it meets most of the approval criteria. And so as usual, commissioners, you have the option in your motion to approve as presented, to deny as presented, to approve with conditions, or to postpone. If you do have conditions, staff would ask that you be clear about those in your motion so we can capture that. And then if you do find a need to postpone, please let us know what information we can bring back to you in a later meeting. And that concludes my presentation. We do have a representative of First United Methodist in our meeting with us. And then we also have the project architect.
Thank you, Britton. I understand, as Britton said, we have the applicant, we have a representative and the architect. Is there anything that you all would like to add or comment on at this point?
This is Debbie Bray. I'm the building committee chairperson for the First United Methodist Church, overseeing this project. And Britton captured everything in her presentation very well. So I don't have anything to add. Alfred Bryce, the architect on this project, is also on the call, and I don't know if he will have any comments as well.
I think Britton did a fantastic job. You know, we tried to do, and with the door itself, just like she said, we're trying to provide in a location that's least invasive and also give the church a means of accessing and providing maintenance. Let's say if somebody's carrying a lot of filters or lots of equipment up there, right now they have to kind of squeeze through this very small opening. That opening is going to go away. And so we wanted to give the church a way to maintain any of the ductwork and new equipment that goes inside of the sanctuary as best as possible.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, and thank y'all for being here tonight. Debbie and Mr. Bryce, we appreciate you bringing this back to the commission to look at with these changes. So commission, do we have any questions or comments for either staff or the applicant tonight? Okay, don't see any questions or comments. So this is a public hearing. So I'm going to open the public hearing. Do we have anyone signed up to speak on this item or any comments in the chat, Nat?
No one has provided any chat comments. I don't see any other folks in the virtual audience. I don't believe Myrna has received any requests to speak tonight.
Okay, thank you, Nat. So not having anyone signed up to speak tonight, we will close the public hearing. Any other comments or questions that you would like, commissioners, before we move forward with the motion? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Catherine Morales, I'll make a motion to approve as presented 2020-30.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll second that, Carolee.
Thank you, Carolee. So we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner Nunn. I'm going to take a vote. Commissioner Parr, approve. Commissioner Curry,
Approve.
Commissioner Browner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
and Commissioner Nunn.
Approve.
Thank you. That motion carries. Thank y'all for being here tonight. Okay, we're going to move on to our next item, which is item E, which is COA 2021-1 or 2021-1 COA. Written.
Back again, Commissioners. This is a public hearing and possible action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for the addition of a porch, patio, or deck at the property located at 208 South Austin Avenue and bearing the legal description of Lot 4, Block 9, City of Georgetown. So we don't often have requests specifically for the addition of a porch, patio, or deck. So this is a little bit unique and also is a property with a unique history. So I hope you had the opportunity to look at that in the staff report. This house is known as the Imhoff House. And you may or may not be familiar, but the dam at the Blue Hole is called the Imhoff Dam. And so I've not had the opportunity to further explore. I know there are a lot of residents in Georgetown who would be able to speak to it from better experience than myself, but I believe those are the same Imhoffs. And so this house being kind of near to Blue Hole and where a Mr. Imhoff used to reside and who built the house has got some history that I'm aware some of our residents are very familiar with and remember happily. And so this is a very petite little house. What the applicant is asking for is to construct a more contemporary kind of rear patio with some covering, looking more like a pergola. And so we'll get into that. This is located kind of between the downtown and the San Gabriel River. So almost about halfway just off of 3rd Street. It is one of the few remaining residential properties we have in the downtown overlay district. So this does face on to South Austin Avenue, and it's just a kind of a block kitty corner from the historic Williamson County Jail. It is a high priority structure. It's surrounded by properties that are either low priority or not on our historic resource survey because they're not historic. It has a house next door. It's got some apartments behind it to the west, and then across Austin Avenue are some houses that are now used for businesses. And so this does appear on the 1916 Sanborn Fire Insurance map. The house is a bit older than that, but the map did not stretch this far north until 1916. So this is the first time that we can see it. What I do want to draw your attention to is the house shown on the 1916 map is larger than the house we see today. So you see the mark on the yellow rectangle that says D. That denotes a wood dwelling. It's got a front porch. We can see that pretty clearly. It's got a small outbuilding. That could have been a well house or a shed or kind of other utility structure. But there is an addition on the rear of the house that was there by 1916 that's not there today. And we'll go through that in the photos. But we see the exact same shape house in the 1925 map. But by 1940, either a second house was built on the lot because the deed denotes a dwelling, or there was some kind of other kind of residential use on the property. So it's always very interesting to me to see what has come and gone kind of in between the points that we can kind of provide some evidence or know the story. So not exactly sure if someone else was also living there, if that was a home for a family member, just some extra living space for them, or if maybe that had a different purpose, but we do see that the site was getting more structures. The 1934 photo from Southwestern Special Collections is a little bit hard to see, but what I can see is that for one, the trees thankfully didn't have too many leaves at that point, so it's a little bit easier to see the house, but we can see basically a one-story rear extension attached to the very simple shaped house there is today. I had a little bit of a hard time seeing the structure that was shown in that 1940 Sanborn map because there's another structure in the way here. You can kind of see it in the bottom left corner of that red rectangle that I have drawn. So that was the property in 1934. There were other houses around it. This was a part of the downtown that wasn't downtown yet. It was still residential. People still had some agricultural use, and you can see this kind of big empty lot area just directly to the south. And then also our historic previous Austin Avenue Bridge there in the background, which is always kind of fun to see. So the 1964 aerial photo also ended up being a little bit blurry. It's a little bit hard to read, but I can't tell that a whole lot changed between 1940 and 1964. It looks like we still have the same main house with the rear addition, and it may or may not still be showing that 1940 kind of secondary dwelling. It was a little bit hard for me to read and interpret this one, to be quite honest. So, but we do know that the property kind of stayed in a similar shape. The 1974 aerial photo is when I get a much better outline of the house. So you can see we're kind of much closer to the 1916 footprint than we are today with the smaller house. And so this is what the front of the house looked like in 1984. It looks like we've got kind of a shed addition there on the left or on the south side. And that was probably for some kind of utilitarian use, just given the size. Could have been a bathroom, a washroom, a laundry, something like that. And so, whoops. So I think that's it. But by kind of 2015, you may have seen this in the staff report. By 2015, that rear addition was determined to be a dangerous structure and it was removed. So there was a prior application for this property in which somebody had kind of a previous owner had requested to do a rear addition and then also a carport. And I believe that was approved, but it was never completed. And so the property has a new owner today, and they are asking to build a kind of this back patio with the pergola style covering, a little bit of a wood screening for sun protection from that western sun there on the back of this house. So where they're proposing to put this patio addition is where a living space addition to the house used to be in prior times. So this kind of, it's not the same shape exactly as the rear addition, but it does have some similar kind of shape and characteristics to what was once there. From what I can tell, the entire back of the house is not original because that at some point had been either removed or changed or reconstructed. And so this is not kind of the original historic material that they would be touching on this house. I think it's important to make that distinction because this property, as it turns out, has had a lot of changes over time, even though it is a high priority structure and even though it does retain some really nice Victorian era characteristics. So the materials that the applicant is proposing to use are a stained wood. So you can kind of see that wood characteristic, and it's meant to be not only the decking material, but also the material for the patio cover. So you can see what they're proposing to do in terms of the screening, a little bit for privacy, but also because this property, the back does face toward the west, it would provide some sun protection. This is another view. So they're not proposing changes to the house itself. That's meant to stay as it is. The request is really just for that kind of patio and patio cover addition to the rear. And so here's another view looking from the very back of the property, or what would be the westernmost edge of the property, what they're proposing. And so this is, it says current, it's not quite current. This does have a new front door and some improvements on the front. This was just the most recent picture that I could quickly grab just so that you have a sense of what the property looks like today. So we do have some city sidewalk improvements to make kind of the more accessible ramps. So those are on the city's property, and then this house is within that private property. And here's another view taken from Google Street View at that same time. This, I like this photo because it does show the back of the house. You've just got that one kind of window at the time. And this is kind of showing a view that you can see a little bit almost on the ground, a little bit of the remains of where that rear addition was for at least 100 years, probably a little bit more before it was declared to be a dangerous structure and removed. And that was because the structure had deteriorated quite a bit. And so when staff reviewed the request, we found that it complied with all of the applicable requirements. There's no signage proposed because this is a residential property, so that was found to not apply. 2 signs were posted, no comments had been received, And just in case there's a question about this one, because sometimes we're kind of used to residential properties being residential zoning. This is in the mixed use downtown zoning, so it doesn't have the residential single family zoning. That does not have the same setbacks, so there were no setback modifications needed in this instance. But it does, that zoning category does allow for the single family residential use. So kind of a type of property zoning that we don't have very much of, but we do have sometimes. So given all of that, given the property history and what we were able to understand through research, staff recommends approval of the request. And as usual, commissioners, you have your 4 options. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I'm not sure if the applicant has joined us, but I don't believe that they had a separate presentation, but we might just check to see if they've joined the meeting and have any comments to make.
Thank you, Britton. I looked in the participants. I don't see anyone on the meeting. Nat, is there anyone?
I don't see anyone in the chat space or the attendees list, and I don't believe Myrna has been contacted by the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for staff at this point before I open the public hearing? Okay, so this is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing. Do we have anyone signed up to speak on this item or any comments related to this item?
I don't see anybody in the chat space or any of the attendees outside of the commissioners.
Okay, thank you, Nat. Okay, so not having anyone signed up to speak, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners, any questions or comments for staff about this item? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Trustee Curry, I make a motion to approve this project.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Who is that? Who's the second?
Me, Terry.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Curry to approve this project as submitted, and a second by Commissioner Hyde. Let's take a vote. Commissioner Parr, approve. Commissioner Curry?
Approve.
Commissioner Browner?
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde?
Approve.
Commissioner Morales?
Approve.
And Commissioner Nunn.
True.
Okay, thank you. That motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, and our last agenda item is a really special one tonight. So we have item F, which is recognition of one of our Harc Commissioners' service. So Britton or Nat?
We wanted to take the opportunity, especially because we had a brief meeting tonight, to say a tremendous thank you, although we cannot thank him enough for his service. Art Browner has served Harc with so much distinction and with so much more respectability than I will ever serve a board or commission with. And so, Art, you have taught us so much and contributed so much, not only to our discussions, but to our understanding of historic places, how to treat them, how to give clear and specific kind of recognition of the role those places play in our lives and in our community. And I have personally really enjoyed my relationship with you and learning from you. And I'm going to miss you on the commission very much. So I hope you will take the opportunity when you have it to stop by and visit us and see what we're up to, especially since you can, for the time being, and maybe for a little while longer, do so from the comfort of your own home.
If I would have any response, Britton, it would go something like this. Let me see. 2 of the key elements, as far as I am concerned, has to do with life itself. And it has to do with appreciating where you are and what you're doing. And I think someone had said, and I'm paraphrasing, but if you enjoy what you're doing, then it is not work. And having been a part of this commission, and I might add, I have a treasure trove of things that I've done in my life, including being foreperson of Merced County's grand jury, being foreperson pro tem of Merced County's grand jury, having been 4 consecutive years chair of the Planning Commission and a host of other things. This, my serving on the Harc Commission, has been one of the most satisfying community endeavors that I've ever done, because you're actually making a difference with regards to protecting people's property values and standing up for those who are willing to go along and adhere to the guidelines. As the gatekeepers of the historic district, I have never been prouder to have served my community. And as some of you know, Catherine in particular, my feelings with regards to people who serve here, we don't just live here, it's home. So that's what the premise of my having been here means.
Hear, hear.
Mhm.
All right, I'd just like to say a big thank you. I've had the privilege of being on staff since you first came on the commission, and in our work in the planning department, we serve a number of different commissions. I think we're the department with most commissions that we get the opportunity to serve. And as part of some of our favorite work is getting to know the commissioners, understanding what makes them passionate about what they're doing and why they're serving. And it has been just a privilege to watch you work. I've heard you say, you said it now in your remarks, and I've heard you say it since the very beginning of your service on the commission about being, holding a deep respect and responsibility for the development of Old Town and downtown and historic. You know, it's easy for people that live in the historic district to fall in love with it and to be gatekeepers to some extent. And you don't, but you carry the same level of responsibility and integrity in every application that you've reviewed. As staff, you've welcomed me into your home in order to just understand and learn from you. You have deliberately come to each meeting prepared. And I can't think of a better example of what we look for in commissioners than what you've given to us. Selfishly, I have about 4 other boards and commissions that you can come serve on if you get bored. But I want you to know that it has been a deep privilege to watch you from the very beginning of serving on Harc. And as somebody that from a professional standpoint and from a personal standpoint that just loves the historic districts there, the charm of our community, and to watch you work and to watch the integrity in which you bring to your work, it has been a real pleasure. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. And I don't know if it was Pamela or who it was early on that not really chewed me out, but told me her name is not Sophia, her name is Sophia. I said, okay, I got it. And I came to you and said, hey, this is my entire being. And I'm going to say something here, and I'm only intending to say what I'm intending to say. 2 of the key elements with regards to when you've been overly involved in community commissions, committees, and commitments, it's always fairly easy to tell who have read the staff reports based on the questions they ask. And that has always been the motivating factor for me, because if you staff put together 180-page staff report, I, on the other end, should at least be willing to read it. That's what motivates me, because for the most part, and I've said this to a small degree on a couple of occasions, might not have completely gotten through, but you never learn anything by talking. You learn by listening. So, Sophia, I got your name right. I appreciate the comments, and in particular, with all that, I don't even know how you do what you do with all of the boards, commissions, plus the council that you are responsible to. You are amazing. And I do have to say this, and then I'm done. We are very fortunate. I told people this, and it was never more prevalent than this recent ice storm. We are very fortunate. I don't believe in luck. You make your own luck. We are very fortunate in Georgetown to have the staff and the people that we have in place. We're completely different from most other communities in the great state of Texas, which I'm a third-generation Texan. We appreciate our staff members put forth the maximum effort. It's almost as if you don't work here. It's as that you live here and that it's home. And we appreciate it. We appreciate our staff. We have a wonderful staff. And then I might also, since I've got the floor, might reiterate on this. One of the things that has really made this historic commission better is having the historic part of each project, the historical records of the project. I just learned tonight about the person who damned the blue hole. I think that's priceless. Anyway, I digress. Done. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. We will miss you, but you're going to come see us both. Either you can log on virtually, or you can eventually, hopefully, come see us on the dais when we get back to City Council chambers, and we can all give you a hug when we get through all this in the future. But I had big shoes to fill when I took over as chair after you, and I don't know if I'd do it justice today. But thank you for your service, and I echo everything about, our city staff and this commission, and, you all put in hours and hours of time, and you've put in hundreds and thousands of hours now. And I'm just really, really grateful and humbled by your service. So thank you.
I will comment this. Amanda, you have come a long ways. And I will say, that, and I mean this because I very seldom ever say anything that I don't mean. I can't even remember when I did. But I don't know if I could have done the type job that you've done under this pandemic virtual. I couldn't have done it. I have to give you credit for that, because I'm more engaged with regards to being there, seeing the facial expressions and reacting to that. You would more of a sterile approach, which is what you have to do. You've done a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'd rather be engaging in person too, but we'll get there. So, all right. Anything else we need to add to this, staff?
Well, I'll miss you, Art. And I just want to say that, everybody else put it better, but I want to add that you were very warm when I first started the board, and I didn't know a soul. And I really, really appreciated it. And I'll always remember that. So thank you very much.
And I will say this, since you said that, you were one of the last committee members that I had the occasion, because I used to hug Sophia every chance I got. I'd hug Catherine every chance I got. You were one of the last committee members before we went into this pandemic mode that I was able to hug. And I appreciate that. If there was one regret, it would be that we were not able to get back together as a unit on the dais. And so maybe, maybe it was meant to be. I would have one last request, Sophia, Britton. I would like for, if you deem it okay, to send my last communique to each of the commissioners.
Perfect. Okay. Is that okay, Sophia?
Oh, you bet. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Art. So we are going to move to our last agenda item, which
can I move for adjournment?
No, we have one more agenda item.
Oh, dang. All right.
Then I was going to ask if you wanted, we were going to give you the privilege of adjourning tonight, but give me a second. You're moving it too fast, Art. Okay. Item G, which is city staff updates. Do we have updates tonight?
Yeah. I don't have any.
Britton or Nat? Okay. Well, Commissioner Browner, I will accept a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Carolee.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Nunn. All right, we are adjourned for the evening. Art, we will see you on the flip side. Join us anytime you want. Y'all have a good evening. See y'all in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.